do you consider the Islam still on the rise and still something that is a threat to the United States, or do you think that it's something that the United States needs to be aware of, but is benign?
So up until about
and when I say threat, I'm talking about like the Wahhabis are.
Yeah. So up until about 6 months ago, I taught a master's course at Endicott College. It was the capstone course, and one of my test questions in both when I taught asymmetric threats and the capstone course was, why haven't we seen a major FTO, foreign terrorist organization, directed attack in the United States since 9/11? And the answer to that question is KSM is in jail. The book Mastermind, I can't remember who authored it, covers very well just how brilliant KSM was and the simplicity of the plan. So I believe Sarah Adams has spoken about this at length. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are two completely different. They have two completely different goals. Al-Qaeda is seeking regional hegemony over the area and looking at attaining dominance across the region, where ISIS has largely been fragmented since the collapse of Baghdadi, and they are more than willing to engage in homegrown violent extremists, put that ideology out there for them to go out online and look at. So yeah, Richard, who is that, Kyle?
Miniter, looks like.
Miniter, Richard Miniter.
Yep.
I highly recommend reading it because people conflate, we don't want to conflate Islam with terror.
Yep.
Okay. We don't want to conflate Wahhabism with Islam. We don't want to conflate foreign terrorist organ, FTO, directed terrorist attacks with homegrown violent extremists. Because once you start blurring all that together, then it's I hate to say it, but it's a very short trip to the crazy guy who wants to drink raw milk and raise chickens.
Yeah.
Everybody becomes a problem.
We're all problems here.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
My wife is like, when do I get a cow? But here's the crazy, because you're talking about threats. You talked about Sarah Adams. I heard that. I've been listening to what she has to say. We have so many potential threats coming into this country because we spent 4 years opening borders. We imported 100,000 Afghans. One of the things that I had to do in the FBI was investigate major crimes on the bases where we brought in my case, we had 20,000. We had two different bases, Holloman Air Force Base, Fort Bliss. They looked like Afghanistan in the places that had it. We had 10,000 Afghans on each one of those places. They had no idea what the rules were. And I've recently put out a call that I had because I went and I lambasted the FBI's internal affairs and I recorded the call. So it's kind of funny. But one of the things I brought up in there that kind of blew people's minds is we brought in people that were fighters that we were aligned with in Afghanistan, that were working on behalf of the CIA. They were the classic, they've been co-opted, but we don't have a perfect agreement with them. We brought them to the United States because otherwise they were going to get slaughtered when we pulled out.
Sure.
We brought them in. We didn't tell them the rules. They brought Chai Boy culture with them.
Ooh.
Okay. I personally investigated a 17-year-old boy who was claimed to be 19, whose ID said he was 19, but the guys forged it, or they forced it happening either in Germany or in Qatar. I can't remember which one. Separated him forcibly from his family, brought him in, and were holding him as a sex slave on a U.S. military installation over at Holloman Air Force Base. Okay. And you've got 30 men who are between the ages of, let's say, 32 and 50. They're battle-hardened guys. They were from the Coast Province Force. They were all working on behalf of the CIA. They're getting paid in money and cash and trinkets and beers and electronics and things like that by the guys in the CIA that are still trying to get intel out of them.
While they were over in Afghanistan, or they're still here in the U.S.
Yeah, like outside of in New Mexico. And so they're doing that, and they've got this kid basically under lock and key, where they've got a half dozen dudes watching him. We went and liberated him. I'm not even exaggerating. We went in there with armed security forces folks from the Air Force, pulled him out of a little tent where he was being watched, and then separated him, and he never was able to see them again because we were afraid something bad would happen, and we shipped him out to Virginia to where his family was, reunited him. We brought that into the United States. That's one example of people who just didn't have our culture.
Yep.
Now imagine that there were 100,000 of those. George, do you know how many walk-offs there were that just walked off the base and went into America? Do we have numbers on that is what I'm asking?
I don't know. We do have exact numbers. I don't know them off the top of my head, but it was a significant amount, like over half.
It's in the thousands of people that literally have no paperwork, no identification, no State Department authorization. They are not officially paroled into the U.S. They straight up flew in here on a military aircraft. They walked off a base because there was no authority to keep them. They got into an Uber and they joined whatever the hell network of people they had here. Some of them probably have jobs and they're working under the counter. Yep. Some of them probably don't.
Now, would those people be considered illegal immigrants?
What do you do with that?
The reason I ask,
illegal, Glenn.
the reason I ask is because with the incoming administration, right? With Donald Trump's administration, one of the things that the American people are very clear about is they are comfortable with deportations.
Yes.
Particularly with people that are either violent criminals, which I would consider the people that would rape someone a violent criminal, even if in their culture it's acceptable. It doesn't change the fact that in our culture it's not, and that's a crime in the United States. If they're doing that, they forfeit the good nature that the United States has to and having allowed them to come here, and they got to go back.
Yeah, their legal status is dubious at best. Again, like there was a process. The people that came in here from Afghanistan, and some of them I'm sure were decent human beings, and some of them were assets. Some of them spoke fluent English and had skills. Like I met a guy who was like computer codes in multiple languages, spoke a couple languages, worked for the State Department. Yeah, come on in, dude. You're gonna get a DEI job over at Meta, but you're the kind of guy I want here because you want to come in and do work, and you actually have a skill set. And great. Fantastic. Welcome to America. We're going to give you a hug.
So I never answered your question about is Islam a problem or is this something we need to be concerned about going forward? Yes, but first, brief little segue. Under Sharia law, for a woman to accuse a man of rape, she needs 2 witnesses.
Yeah.
So very, very, very different culture. Thank goodness we have common law.
What about a
and
man?
the Constitution.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.